Okay, so I'm going live right now to test to see. My intention is to do a start a podcast, and I've been working on this for quite a while. But the intention is to create a conversation about different things, whether it be religion or politics or current events that are happening. Of course, one of the things that I enjoy is eschatology. And so my desire really is to create that level of a conversation about current events, and things that are happening in the world. And so right now, um, as I as I shift um, into, I would say, a different direction of just ministry and conversation. I think it's important for all of us at some point to start looking at current events that are happening, things that are coming out in Hollywood, things that are being said, things that are being done. There's a movie that I'm probably going to give some level of review on that is also challenging, seemingly, to a lot of people, and it should be. And I'll tell you about that movie at another time. My intention today is just to introduce this kind of platform. And as I always do, because I don't know what I'm doing, I just kind of try to figure things out as they go. It's the same thing that I did when it comes to Instagram, and so that's what I'm doing now when it comes to that. So um, let's. I think that I don't know if the sound is going to be okay, so I probably won't know that until I finish this and go back and check it. I know this is live, and that means that, of course, people don't know that I'm on. But if somebody happened to come on, you just happen to come on. So let's look at a couple of things I would say that's right now happening in the world. One of the challenges I would say right now, when it comes to our government structure and what is happening with our government structure, what we're allowing, what we're not allowing, and some things. Do you think the deterioration? Um, First of all, do you feel that there is a deterioration in our country, and if so, then what is it? Really, what is happening within our country? Because right now, there are things that in the 60s, I'm a 60s kid, and so born in 1968. And so there's things that happened in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even 90s, and the beginning of the 2000s. There are things that are happening now that never would even been considered a conversation at that point. And so, with all of those things being said, I think that a choice of how the country is being run, how the direction that we're going in, how that's going to look. I think that's a conversation that needs to be had. As I said before, I am. This is something new that I'm trying. I haven't put an advertisement out here because I just wanted to kind of feel it and see what was happening. I don't know what I'm doing with this thing. So I'm comfortable with that because I'm comfortable not knowing and figuring it out as I go. And so I think I have one person that's watching right now, and maybe you'll get in the chat, maybe you won't. But I do need to know if people can hear me and hear what I'm saying. But let me get back to my point. So right now, the country is being challenged in several different ways. I think that what we're dealing with right now is a challenge when it comes to our view of leadership, and what is leadership, and what direction is that leadership taking our country. And so, if you have, like for instance, if you have um, you have this LGBTQ community that now is allowing, or asking and requesting and even pushing to be in front of a lot of children. Well, then Is there a, I think the question to ask is that, do you feel that there is going to be an impact on those children if we push certain narratives in front of kids? All right. I think the next thing is that when you have the religious aspect of it versus the political aspect of it, and I do understand that we are. Um, I do understand that we are a free country, but remember, everybody keeps calling the country a democracy when really the country is a republic. All right. And so maybe that's a conversation that we will have also about that. Because I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic, not to the democracy. And so now we have to find out exactly, okay, so really what direction was the country created to go, and what direction are we going in, and what and who does it impact? Because if it's impacting um if it's impacting our youth, if it's impacting our next generation, all right, then what direction would you say that the country is going in? And so I think that all of these are legitimate questions. And it's not something that you have to argue about. It's not something that you have to debate about. And that's not something that I want to do in my podcast, which is arguing and debating and arguing about. If you want to share something, then you can share it without it being an argument. And so that's how people can really come together and see exactly, really what's happening, what's taking place, and how things are flowing. So for each and every individual, I think that really for us, we need this kind of conversation. Now, I'm a pastor, I'm a church guy, but in addition to that, I'm an American, and I'm an American citizen. And so I have a right to state an opinion and to deal with, how I believe the country is being run, what I believe is happening versus what I think should be happening and should be taking place. So I think for everybody that is involved, and this is our country, there's 300 and maybe 350 million citizens of the United States. All right. And that's just citizenship. So if we have 350 plus million people in the United States, and out of that 350 million people in the United States, we have probably, you can take out maybe um, 30 or 40 million that are little Americans. They can't vote. They're not old enough to vote. So I'm going to call them little Americans. So out of that 350 million, you maybe have 40 million that are little Americans that we are impacting with our decisions. And we have to be careful of what direction we are training them and taking them in, and really what's going to be next when it comes to our country. Because these are the young people that if we don't instill in them certain principles and certain laws and certain convictions, then what's going to happen is that our country is going to be led by popular people that have no knowledge of how to really run the country. And so it becomes a popularity contest. And then in that popularity contest, then people are trying to expose whether you are human or not. And everybody has human moments. And so when you have a human moment, you should not, it doesn't mean that you cannot run the country because you have some challenges or some weak moments in your life, but you've got to be a person of principle. Because if you're an individual of principle, then what you're saying is that even though I may not be a great this or a great that or a great the other, I'm still good at operating in principle. And if I can operate within principle, I can effectively run the country. And that's the direction that we're going into right now. I think this is, hey there. And so I saw somebody said this is good. So I'm glad it is. I really am. So I think that right now for every individual, there has to be some level of conviction about, just like you have a business plan, and in that business plan you say, what is my 5-year plan, what is my 10-year plan, what is my 15-year plan, what is my 20-year plan, or where am I headed? I think the question that you have to ask yourself now is that what is the 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, and 20-year plan for our youth? And what are we instilling in them that we can be comfortable that when we are of an age that we can't do what they do, we've instilled in them something that is so valuable that we can trust where it's headed. And for those of you all that are watching it and you look, let's say you have children, how you train those children and how you build those children, how you impart into those children is going to determine how they handle you when you are 70, 80, 90, 100 years old. If God allows you to live that long, or 120 years old. And so you have to then say, all right, either you are comfortable with being in that child's care, or if you know what you instilled in them, you are scared to death of being in that child's care. And you know what you're really scared of? You're scared of what you put in them. And so when you're young and strong and you thought principles weren't valuable enough, then you could just, if they bucked up against you, you knew you can handle it. But what about when you're 80 and 90 years old? What about the fact that when you still have a strong mind or a good mind, but yet they want to put you in a retirement home because they don't want to be bothered with you? And the reason they want to be bothered with you because they never experienced a level of connection or love with you. Now think about that as a family. Now think about that as a country. And if you think about that as a country, what you're going to start noticing is that our country is challenged because we really are not, we're not being really good to our next generation. We're not instilling in them the principles. And here's the other thing. Those individuals that are, those families that are instilling principles into their children, they literally, those kids are being ostracized for their principles. To say, no, it's not right to be disrespectful to somebody that is older, or no, it is not correct to handle somebody or talk to somebody that particular way. And so all of us at some point has got to start looking at the fact of what is the direction that we're going in when it comes to our country. All right. And so I came on because I'm trying to figure out this podcast thing and how to press buttons. So you see all these little buttons and everything that I'm pressing. So I press this button here, then it changes over to that. And so I'm trying to figure it all out. All right. But my reality is simply this, that something has to be done when it comes to the value of where we're headed. And if you know, like I know, because I study the Word of God and I really study future events, and we call it eschatology, things that's happening in the end of days. I'm watching some things that's happening now that is beyond disturbing. And what we're finding now is that there are scholars and philosophers and scientists are going into the Word of God and literally picking it apart and now seeing, wow, how in the world could this have been done many, many years ago? This is written so many years ago, and these things are really coming to pass, or things have already come to pass. You can't just say that's a coincidence. At some point, you have to start looking at what is God really telling us? And if you don't believe in God, that's fine, because we can talk about that as well. Because there is an intelligent design when it comes to our universe. Because it takes intelligence to create intelligence. All right, guys. So first short podcast, just to be able to get on and to share yes. Just to be able to get on and to share a little bit and talk a little bit while I try to figure this out. As I said before, I don't know what I'm doing, but I got faith enough to just jump straight into it and figure it out as I go. And so I appreciate my two people that are watching right now because nobody really hardly knows. So sometimes people can just kind of find things, and I appreciate those individuals for finding. And hey, make it a great day, okay? Um, because we're going to do this, and it's going to be big. All right. Blessings. Now I got to figure out how to cut this thing off. All right. So let me see. And there we are. All right. I got it. Blessings, guys.